Welcome to our webinar for ZAPP. My name is Justine Chappell. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager. And today I'm going to give you an inside look into the artist side of ZAPP. As you create your event application and set up your fees and everything, I want to make sure you know exactly what it looks like from the artist side so that you can understand exactly how they use ZAPP, and that could in turn inform how you set up your application questions, how you troubleshoot artists if they reach out to you. If they have any issues with the site, you can help them first before sending them to us. And I hope this will just give you a better understanding of the platform from both sides. So what I'm going to do today is show you certain steps of the application process from start to finish, and I'm going to display what it looks like on your end and what it looks like on the artist side, just kind of side by side so you can see everything. So let me get logged back into our account. With ZAPP on the admin side, I just have to enter in code here. All right. So we're going to start with talking about the event information and what it looks like when an artist reviews that information. This section is going to be pretty familiar because I think all of you are pretty familiar with the event details page that displays on the artist side, but I'm going to go through and talk about certain things, and there's certain key points and tips that I want to share with you. So let's go into our event editor for this event here. So obviously, you know that when you first are coming into ZAPP to edit your event for the next year, you're going to go to the event information tab first. And so everything that's on this page, at least most of it, is going to end up in your event details page. Now, this can be found in the public URL field, so you can copy this URL and open a new tab and view this from the public side. So this is that event details page there. Or you can also click on the preview button on the bottom. That will also open a new tab with the same page. It's the same URL essentially. One is you're previewing changes as you save them, maybe before the event is actually published. And then the other one is what that URL will actually be when you share it to artists. So I'm going to essentially be walking through the information that's on the event editor, and we're kind of going to flip between both sides so I can show you where things go and share some tips as well. So just starting with the logo, obviously that goes to the top. That's very self-explanatory. That's what it looks like. The sitemap that you can upload to the event editor of the orientation of your site. Maybe you have a photo instead you prefer to use at this stage of the process. That will appear at the very bottom of the event details page. You can see on the very bottom here, an artist can then click to enlarge that event map. So that's where that goes. The social media is the next stage of the event editor. That goes to the top left. Icons, depending on which social media accounts that you've entered, that will appear in certain, those will appear. So I only have Facebook on this one, but if I were to enter in the editor, the Twitter, which, we will update to X at some point, and the Instagram URL, those will appear with those icons. Now, I do want to make it clear to be sure you're putting in the full URL, not just the handle name or account name. You wouldn't want to put in like this, for example. Make sure you're putting in that full URL so that it can be a clickable icon and artists can go to your Facebook page. So just make sure you're putting in that full website address there. Next on the event editor page, we've got the mailing address, the event location, city, state, and region. This will actually become pretty important later on when we talk about the events list, but this will appear, top left, giving artists a quick view of where your event is located. And you'll see that the region, it just is determined by the state that you enter on the event editor. It will label the region, and that pretty much helps artists filter for it on the events list. And it's like a quick at-a-glance view of where you're located. We only have the 4 regions: West, Midwest, South, and Northeast. So those are determined by the census, so don't come at us for how it's organized, but or if you're in a different region than you think you should be. Anyway, that's just where the region should be on the events details page. Then we're going into on the event editor, you'll note your event type, indoor, outdoor. This is also really just used on the events list that we'll go over for artists so that they can filter for events that are in certain locations. I'm going to kind of speed through these things because, again, they're self-explanatory, but if there's anything you want me to touch on a little bit more, feel free to put that in the chat. The next section we have is the types of applications you accept. So whether or not you accept applications from both artists or non-artist vendors or both. And then the types of applicants that need to submit images. So maybe just artists need to submit images, or maybe they all do. I doubt there's any that are accepting images only from vendors, but there's the option there for that. And that is also displayed at a glance for artists on the side of your event details page so that they can see, who is able to apply. The images would then appear, that kind of second setting would appear right here about requiring images for vendors. Moving on here, let's go to the next section of the event editor. Obviously, we've got these list of dates. So you're accepting applications and the deadline, when you're going to conduct your jury, the notification date, purchase deadline, all those kinds of things. That gets turned into a nice, neat little timeline that you've probably all seen on the event details page, and folks can, review those dates there. Again, pretty standard in that section. Is this event juried? That setting does basically tell the system whether or not to ask for your jury details. So if you say, yes, it's juried, it's going to open up that jury details tab for you or make those questions required. If it's not juried, it would not be required, and then you wouldn't have that section on the event details page. The event summary, this should be your short and sweet summary of what the event is and to entice artists to, continue reading about your event and to hopefully get them to apply. So of course, this goes to the top of the event details page, and this is your first chance to really wow the artist, get them to apply. So, make sure you're including text and copy that just kind of draws the attention of artists. Maybe you want to call out something specific or unique about your event, really kind of try to stand out from the crowd about what makes your event unique and why an artist should apply. Maybe it's really calling out the region and the location. If you want artists in your region to apply, you can include some of that verbiage there. Maybe you have some special accolades. Maybe you want to highlight the juror or the juror panels for that year. So that's your kind of section. Again, keep it nice and short and sweet so that folks can just simply see why they should continue learning about your event. The general information section is next. So of course, in the event editor, that's this text box here. Here, make sure you are just considering the artist's perspective about all the information that they need to know in order to make a decision that they want to apply to your event. This is your opportunity to be creative. You can include testimonials, again, some accolades. Maybe you want to describe what the site looks like on the location, kind of paint the picture for an artist. Maybe be clear about the outcome the artist would get when they apply and maybe participate, kind of success you've had in the past. And this is, again, your area to be interesting and exciting before you get to all the logistics, rules, and regulations. This is your chance to kind of include all that. Again, just kind of going straight and forward. It's very plug and play here where you can insert your info in the rules section. It appears on the rules section of the details page, so on and so forth. So we all kind of understand that. But just thinking about the artist view and their perspective, when it comes to rules and regulations, you really want to be specific and clear about eligibility, what artwork is and is not allowed. A lot of events are different, so artists are really looking for, those specific things that may or may not make them eligible to apply or participate. You can't assume that every event is the same because it's not. So make sure that you're being very clear about what your event does and does not allow. You also want to be clear about what will happen in the event that, the rules are broken on site or something happens like, as long as the rules section or the info that you have available to artists is very robust and complete up front, then if there's any issues, you can always come back to it and stand behind that information you provided ahead of time. So really just keeping that in mind when an artist is reviewing the information, as long as they have everything that they need to know, hopefully there's no issues there. Same thing with booth information. Obviously, you want to make sure it's all complete. My demo examples here are very simple, but you all have your own set of information. But in terms of, tips for this section, I just want to make sure, artists are looking for what they need to pay, what they will need to pay. They want to know that now so that they can make an informed choice. Show what you have available, if you have any equipment rental opportunities, if you have other additional things that you will offer to artists, what goes into the fees themselves. You really just want to make sure that there's no unanswered questions for an artist so that they know when they are ready to apply that they have all the info they need. And one thing that we kind of talk about in like the marketing world is really just making sure that you are not leaving it open to any how do I phrase this? Just like not leaving it open to anyone to say no or having any questions so that they can't make any objections for why they should apply. So just addressing those head on. Same thing with refund policy. This will appear, further down on the page. So be very clear about what the refund policy is, especially weather cancellations, as I know we all are experiencing. There's a lot of events experiencing that lately. So just make sure that you have a very clear refund policy. Then on the event editor, we've got the legal agreement. This doesn't appear on the event details page, except at the very bottom if you click view legal agreement. But when artists apply to the event, this is the first thing they see before they actually get to the application, and they have to agree to this agreement in order to apply. But they can access it or print it from the event details page. We've got some settings on the editor. This doesn't necessarily appear to the artist on the event details page, but it's just some of those operational settings allowing artists to archive their application, but that happens after the jury process. Whether or not you want a booth assignments to show up to an artist on their application once they've applied or been accepted. Same thing with waitlist numbers. Display slideshow images, that's a very internal thing for your own management if you want to be able to view the thumbnails or just one image in the administrative slideshow. But the last thing on the event details page is the jury details. And so that's in a separate tab because there's many questions. Again, if you are a juried event, you have to answer these questions. This provides context to artists so that, again, they know what to expect with the jury. It helps them decide, if they should apply, what maybe their likelihood of, applying is or being accepted is. So in any of these comment box, you can put in some context if you want to explain like what the process would look like. Maybe you are using Jury Buddy or you're using a projected jury and you want to kind of make comments about what that presentation looks like. What kind of standard do you have for how the artwork is presented? That can entice artists to know that they can trust in your jury process. But same thing with the monitor jury. If you want to explain, how you make sure that jurors are all using the same kind of device and that they're viewing their artwork in a certain way that upholds the standards that you set as an event, you can explain that, and artists will probably appreciate hearing that information. So the more info you can provide, the more trusting in your process they might be and more likely to apply. And it's all in the sake of transparency, right? Being open about what will happen with their consideration of their artwork. So again, that's at the very bottom of the event details page is that jury details section. And, since this can get pretty lengthy, we have those anchor links at the top so folks can click to jump down to those certain sections. And I think artists can use this to, if they're just coming back to this page to view the booth information, it's just really easy for them to find that. Overall, though, on this page, you'll really just want to make sure you are optimizing the info that you provide. You don't want to make it too long so that people don't read it. And I know people are aware that some artists don't read all the details carefully anyway, but it's still good to have everything in there to make sure that artists are, informed. And like I said, they don't have any unanswered questions. You want to find those potential blockers that might prevent an artist from applying and then address them in your info. Maybe artists are constantly asking you if you provide certain amenities with the booth setup or booth sitters or something like that, or volunteers to help set up. You can check to make sure that if you have that available, you're providing that info ahead of time to entice, artists and assure them that they'll be okay if they're participating. One thing I do want to note about application fees, so you can see that this is on the side panel as well, is pulls from your product editor. It shows the application fee and if you have any early bird or late fee amounts with that. If this is a high fee for any particular reason, I know, fees have kind of gone up for good reason, but if it is particularly high and you feel like that's preventing artists from applying, maybe you do want to include additional information in your event details about maybe what the fee goes to. Maybe you want, maybe you have information for folks that apply for a reduced cost or a waived fee if they're eligible for that under certain parameters. If you have information for them about how to contact you to receive that sort of discount, you could definitely include that, because those kinds of things kind of show that you're here for artists and you need these fees in order to operate, but there might be some things that you have available to help artists so that the barrier to entry isn't as high. So consider including that information as well. So, if you are wanting more artists to apply and you are really trying to optimize the information on the tab on this page, I recommend maybe reaching out to artists that did apply and that did make it into the event, communicating with them and asking what almost prevented them from applying the first time. What are certain things that almost stopped them from applying, but maybe didn't. And then those things are things that you can address in this section and kind of make sure that you can prevent artists from not applying in the future, if that's almost what happened. So that's the event details page. Pretty much done with this, I think. So I'm going to head over to the events list itself and just talk about what the artist sees as they are browsing events. You might be familiar with this as well. The events list lists all the events that are on ZAPP and has information about, when those applications open. This is where artists, if they don't have their direct URL, will come here to find the event for that year and apply to it. So they can search by keyword. This searches by, event name, organization name, and other keywords, and they can sort the really long list if they just prefer to go in and sort by maybe application date earliest, or maybe certain application fees, high to low, low to high, like however they like to browse the events. But I think the filters are really useful for artists, and they come here to look for certain events that fit their parameters. Maybe they come and maybe they just start with their state, and they see what events are available in their state and see if they want to apply to any of those. Then maybe they might open it up to the whole region, so they will open it up to the West and include other states as well and continue on with that process. Region, I think, or location is definitely a big consideration for artists. How much they need to travel with their artwork if they're accepted. They definitely keep that in mind, the cost to travel, all that kind of stuff. So, considering the location, not that it's something you can change, but just knowing that that's probably what artists are doing when they are looking for events in their area. We've got other filters here, whether events are juried, the event type, indoor versus outdoor, they might have a preference. Application fee, they can set a range. So again, consider your application fees and where you fall within the range that is currently on the market right now. So making sure that you kind of have a competitive fee, so to speak. Of course, whatever works in your operations, but just consider that fee there. And artists do use these filters to set a range for what they are allowing themselves to apply with. And then the only really thing I have to say about any of these filters is just make sure it's updated on your event editor. Event dates, that can sometimes be overlooked when you're copying an event from the previous year on ZAPP. Come to your event information tab and make sure all of these dates are accurate. The years might update to the next year, but the dates will not. So, weekends don't have the same date, so make sure those are updated. It seems pretty obvious, but you'll be surprised how many events have inaccurate dates on their event editor, and that have to be corrected after the application is already opened. So make sure it's all accurate, and then artists will be able to find you if they are searching within the parameters of your event. Before we get to the application process itself, I do want to show you another touch point with artists that you can have for your event to entice them to apply. As you know, we have a few different marketing options where you can target ZAPP artists and send them info about your event. So if you're interested or if you want to learn more information, go to the Help tab of your account. You'll get to the Help Center and then scroll down to the Market with ZAPP page here. And this will give you all the information about what we offer. So we offer e-blasts, which I'm going to talk about, the show information feature, I'll talk about that as well. We also offer receipt advertisements, so having an ad on the receipt page that ZAPP artists see. We also offer a mailing list so that you can send postcards to ZAPP artists. And we also partner with an independent artist podcast. So if you're interested in getting an ad spot on their podcast, we have more information there and a link to send a request for an ad spot to purchase that. So some exciting options there. But I just want to show you, what it looks like from your end and from the artist view of, an e-blast, for example. So with an e-blast, you get to choose the region of the artist you want to send your e-blast to, so the location, and also the medium categories of the artist. So if you want to make sure you're targeting painters in the West or sculptors in the South or all of the above, you can segment our opt-in list for promotional e-blasts and target specific ZAPP artists. So I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like when you request it. Basically, you'll want to, any of these buttons on this page, the marketing request form, will take you to the first step that you have to do, which is filling out this form and letting us know kind of down low after you give us your event details, which marketing option you're interested in. So this is what you choose, which one you want. If you're interested in e-blast, it'll open up additional questions specific to e-blasts. You can add on additional images to your e-blast. You can add a custom brand color. I'll show you the design and show you what that looks like. And then you can also add a social media post where we will post on our social media channels so that you can have that touch point as well. So once you submit this form, I'm not going to go through all these fields, but you will tell us who you want to target based on location and medium categories. And then we'll send you a pricing quote along with the date that the e-blast will be sent. And we'll kind of confirm all those details. We'll then send you a proof of the e-blast so you can review it, make sure the info is up to date. If you want to customize the actual text that's in the e-blast, since it will just be copied from the event summary, you can edit that to make sure it's really customizable and optimized for an e-blast scenario. You can definitely do that. Once the e-blast is actually approved, then we'll get ready to send it. Of course, you'll pay your invoice, all that kind of good stuff, and then we'll send it on the date that's decided. So from the artist view, this is what the e-blast looks like. You'll see we've got the event logo at the top, we've got the event summary in there, all the different, event location, event dates, all these details from the application itself. This all just kind of pulls in automatically. You don't have to build this. It's all just generated. You can, again, customize certain things. If you add an additional image, it will be appeared at the bottom there. And this blue color here is the icons in the border that you can customize to your own color and your own branding for just a additional fee. And that's about it. It's a really kind of low effort thing on your end where you can get directly into the inboxes of ZAPP artists. And I do recommend it. We also make sure that artists don't receive so many e-blasts in one particular day or week. So we only send one e-blast to a particular artist or region on one specific day. And we only send e-blasts on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So artists can really just have information that's exclusive to your event and not get inundated with a bunch of e-blasts. That's what the e-blast looks like. I also want to talk about what the show information feature looks like. So every Wednesday, as you might know, we send out an email that lists all of the upcoming deadlines and new events added to ZAPP. This is what it looks like when an artist receives it in their inbox. And so here's a list of upcoming deadlines. Here's the list of new events. It's a pretty long list, but if you want to be at the top of this list, you can purchase a show information feature. This is just $100 to be featured on one particular date, and there is a max of only once that you can do this. But if you purchase your feature, you'll be included under this top What's Hot section. And there's only a max of 2 events we'll ever do per particular Wednesday. So this Wednesday we have 2 events. Sometimes you might be the only one in this top section. Sometimes we don't have any and it just goes to the upcoming deadline section. But if you want your event at the top so that artists see it first, purchase that feature and we'll set up a date that you'll be included. This also allows you to include more information, so it pulls in that event summary again here so that artists have a little more info to read through before clicking more info and being taken to the event details page. So this is a really neat way to be able to get into the inboxes for artists as well. And like I said, these are all ZAPP artists. So these are artists that are actively applying to events. When an artist logs into their account, which I'm going to do now so you can see this end. Oops. I want to make sure it's this is the right account. They have under their profile, they have notification settings to opt in and out of these communications. So single show announcements would be that eBlast, and then the show information is that weekly show info. So as long as artists are opted into these things, then they might get your information. This is profile here is also where they make their medium selections for eBlast. So if they can choose up to 3 disciplines that describe their work, and that's how you would then resegment that list based on what an artist chooses. Again, with the eBlast 2, the price is determined by the number of recipients that are in your segmented list based on the location and the medium categories. However many artists are in that list will determine the price of the eBlast, and this is the pricing breakdown here. So as you can see, we have up to, it's like almost, we're hovering around that 50,000 mark at the current moment, but the pricing would just continue on as such. So that's a little bit about, the eBlast and the show information feature, just a couple other touch points for when artists are interacting with events, seeing what events to apply to. So now we're going to talk about the application itself. So what it looks like from the artist end when they're filling out the application and how it will inform, how you build your application. So let's go back into the event editor here. And we'll go to the application editor tab. This is where we'll spend our time on the admin side. Let me close some tabs. On the artist side, I'm going to go to the apply to shows. Let's say I know what a show I want to apply to, and I'm going to look for that event. So here's our demo event. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to view the information. I'm going to read it carefully because I'm a good artist and I read everything carefully. And this one actually has an access code because it's a demo event. Some events are invite only, in which case you would have an access code to give artists in order to apply. Then I'll use that code to access the application. Of course, you see the event agreement first. So artists read through this, hopefully, and they will agree. That will then allow them to be taken to the application page. So again, we'll kind of just go through this section by section and showing you on both sides, how to optimize these certain areas. So first we have the medium category that artists will choose from. So this is where they choose that medium category that they're applying for. Back on the event editor, this appears as such in the editor. One thing I just want to note about categories, definitely revisit these every year to see if you need to add certain categories. Maybe there's new mediums on the market, or maybe you want to make something more specific. Maybe some of your categories were too broad and jurors were taking a long time to get through just a single category. Then maybe consider breaking those down. So you might have different types of painting or different types of sculpture that you separate your categories into. So just revisit those categories, include new things if you want to, and just kind of make sure that it's working for you. So, that's the medium category. Then for artists, they have to enter their description of material and technique. So this, you'll see it's the first question. It's kind of the default question of your custom questions list. There's not much you can edit here except the character count, so you can set up those character limits there. Maybe you want it, to be a really short one, so you can update that. And that will just, appear as such. If I refresh the page, it'll update to our 200, where artists will either insert a save statement. So this is what it looks like. If they click insert, they can save to a portfolio statements that they've used in the past that they like to just apply to different events, so that they don't have to retype it or copy paste it every time. They can save it and just insert it. Obviously, they can update it as need to, or they can just type the new statement directly into the box itself. So that's where that section is, the statement. Okay, so speaking of those questions, that's what's next on the application editor. You're going to build all the questions you want to ask artists. So you can see here on the artist side, all I really want to share here, because it's pretty standard, self-explanatory of, building questions, making sure you have a question and answer options. But it's also about kind of considering the artist's view and their experience when they're interacting with these questions. So consider length, how many questions you're asking, making sure you don't ask so many questions that the artist gets fatigued and doesn't want to complete it. Only ask the questions necessary to the application process, or things that you'll definitely need to ask artists if they're invited. But don't go too much into asking everything about an artist. That would bog you down, the artist down. It might bog the juror down if they're reviewing all those. So just ask for what you need. The other thing I want you to consider is the usability of the questions. So as you know, in our event editor, if you're building a new question, we have all these different question types based on whether you want the artist to just select one answer or multiple answers, or if you want multiple answers but in a drop-down list, or one answer in a drop-down list. We have all these question types. Make sure you're using the one that makes sense for the question. So, of course, if you just have a yes or no question, you would use a radio button, because you can't select both yes and no. That's pretty self-explanatory. But another thing might be if you have a really long list in a, maybe this list starts to get really long. Instead of a checkbox, you can use a drop-down list so that they can choose as many. We have a difference between a single select and a multi-select drop-down list. So this one's single select, they can only choose one. But we have one that allows you, if I show you actually by changing this drop-down list to a single select or multi-select, you'll be able to see here. Let me update that question, refresh the page. Now this is a multi-select, so I can click multiple options from this list. So if you do have a really long list of things that are answer options, consider, instead of having this really long list that takes the page down farther and farther, use a drop-down list. Those certain kinds of things where you're thinking about how an artist is going to be filling this out and what makes sense from a user experience point of view. Consider the type of the question. You'll also want to consider the order of the questions, grouping up certain similar things. So instead of just adding questions as you think of them, add questions, but then change the order using these drop downs to, change what number they are in the order, then clicking update question order, so that you're grouping, equipment need questions as opposed to how they heard about us questions versus agreements that they have to agree to, like certain things you want to call out that they are agreeing to. So group those together so that it's more intuitive as an artist is filling it out. You can also use things like conditional logic to only ask questions based on certain answer options. I'm not going to demonstrate this from the building point of view, but I just want to show you what it looks like. So if you didn't know we could do this, if you have a question like this, if you're an artist or a vendor, if an artist chose artist, they will then be asked this question: write your biography. But maybe you have vendors that can apply, and if a vendor were to choose vendor, you have please list your equipment needs. So, if certain questions only pertain to certain people or based on certain answers, use conditional logic to be able to set that up. Instead of having, a whole list of questions where it's, if you're an artist, fill out these questions, but then if you're a vendor, fill out these questions, and it's all displaying all at once, that just gets a little bit messy. Use conditional logic to be able to build that more dynamic application page. So That's what it looks like from the artist side of the application. When they are filling this out, they can obviously save their progress, come back to it later, or they can continue. Actually, I have to fill this out. This is what it looks like if an artist does not fill out everything, especially for required questions. Not all of these are required, but if they are, they'll be noted as such, and they'll turn red if they are not filled out. So let's make sure we're doing this so we can move forward. The next step is the image selection page. So if you've been around with ZAPP for a while, you know that this image selection used to be directly on the application page. Now we've separated out into two, just so it's a little bit more easy for artists to follow the process. So now we have the image selection page. On your end, all you have to do to be concerned with images is select how many images you're accepting, whether or not you want a boost shot, or if you're going to deactivate that feature. Displaying number of images per row is more of an internal setting as well, where it's just going to display however many images on the application or to the juror scorecard. Is it going to be one image per row, so it's all in a vertical line? Or if you're accepting 4 images, maybe it's going to be 4 per row, so it's all in a horizontal line. Or maybe you do like 2 by 2. So that's that one real quick, but that's all you have to be concerned about with the image selection setting, except for the fact that I do recommend including in your event details, again, in that rules section, what exact artwork are you accepting? What are you not accepting? What do you want to look for in images if you want to require folks submit artwork images that are unframed or framed if you don't mind? Parameters for what images artists should be entering can be included in that event details page. And I do recommend that so that artists, are a little more guided with that image section. So the image selection page for artists is what it looks like. They can view image submission history. If you didn't know they could do that. Basically, it shows them a previous application, a previous event. Here we had the demo event from 2024 and the list of images that they submitted for their previous year's exhibition or previous year's application. So they can actually view that and they can click through multiple years as well. That kind of helps them know, like, do they need to submit different images this year? They have that reminder there. So the first thing for them is seeing what is required from the event. So up here, 0 out of 4 shows I need 4 images. Again, 4 placeholders are at the top here. Boost shots, okay, they're accepting a boost shot. I need to provide one. Here's the slot for it. So then what they do is their portfolio appears on the application page, and they can simply go in and click on the images that they want to apply to the event. So this is assuming that these images are already in their portfolio, but maybe it's not already in their portfolio, or maybe this is their first time on ZAPP, first time applying, and they're just doing the application. What we now have available to artists is the ability to upload the image directly to the application without having to save the application, leave, go to the portfolio section, which is a completely different section, uploading it there, returning to the application. Now it's much more simple. You can go to the upload artwork image section, can browse for the media file. I'm just going to choose one from my desktop right now to show you what this looks like. They are, going to put in everything they would as if they were in their portfolio, and they can, let's see, I'm just going to do that. Once they submit that, you'll see it takes a second. It will be uploaded. They'll come back to the application page, and that demo image, I just submitted a copy, but this is what it looks like. It just adds directly to the application, and it also adds it to their portfolio for later. So they can come in here, and still switch things out if they want, but that's a really neat way so that they can just upload it directly to the application. And the same thing for boost shots. They can upload it directly to the application or take one from their portfolio that already exists. And once all of the requirements up top are completed, that's what their application would look like. They can move forward. If they want to change the image order, they can come in here and change up what images the jurors would see first and save that and continue. So this is kind of our new view of what the image selection page looks like. And I think it's pretty intuitive for artists. for what, how they can submit that. So I should go back to that page. Once they're done with this image selection page, they can save it and they'll be taken to, the booth shot got deselected. They can come to the preview. This is where they preview the questions they answered. So these have all the answers. They can review that. And then at the bottom, it shows the images that they are submitting. It also gives, the information about the event. As you've seen at the top of all these application pages, we've got the contact info and things so that artists can see. The other thing they can do is preview as a juror. So you can't see this window right now, but I just got this pop-up window. This is what happens when the artist views that as a juror. It's very similar to what the juror sees. We've got the zoom capability in here as well. So this is really useful. This is how artists can see what it looks like, of course, on a monitor jury. They can preview those, that slideshow of images. And if they click that, they can, view the info for the artwork itself. They can then, of course, go back and edit. They can apply to more shows if they're done with the application for now and they want to check out with multiple shows at once, or they can proceed to that checkout section. So for the checkout page, we often get a lot of questions. I think you do too sometimes about what artists need to do on this page. But I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like when an artist applies to an event and checks out. For the products themselves, it'll be listed under products, and then if they go to the next step is the quantities. This becomes more prevalent later in the booth purchase phase where they might have multiple products of the same that they want to purchase. So, 2 electric add-ons or 2 booths, they can, update those quantities in the step 2 quantity section. Step 3 is coupon. So if you created a coupon code, and let me go to first of all, product editor. This is where you edit the products. But events coupons is where you can create a coupon for the event that will discount the product that you are setting it up for. So you'll enter any uses. If you're discounting it by percentage or amount, you can do that 100%. Let's do that today. We'll just put in our code here. We'll make it expire at a certain time if that's something you want to incorporate. Make sure it's active, and then we're going to apply it to a certain apply it to a certain product. So this is just going to waive the jury fee. I'm going to add that there. So when an artist has a coupon that you provide them, this is where they enter it. It's step 3 under add coupons, and they have to enter it into the box here. Then they have to click apply before proceeding to the next step. And then the next step is the payment information. So again, this one doesn't have payment necessary because it's now free. But if I removed the coupon for whatever reason, I could then proceed to the next step, and I would select between credit card and PayPal or check. This is set in the product editor where you choose the accepted payments, whether or not it's all or credit card or check. Obviously, probably wouldn't be doing all checks, but if that's what you do, good for you. You must have some great accounting skills. And so that's where artists choose that. For the credit card, it just opens up once they, continue clicking, opens up either with PayPal if they have a saved PayPal account. They can also choose between a card or a PayPal account, enter the card information, submit that, and then they'll do that. Obviously, I'm not going to enter a credit card for you guys right now. So I'm going to just enter a check, which means I'm just going to enter a check number and any notes if I have it, and then I will be clicking check payment as an artist. It'll then tell them where to send the check to. So they'll be then prompted to send the check to your address. The application itself, now that we've just submitted it, will be in the awaiting payment by check status because they have not yet actually, sent the payment. Once you receive the check, you will select received check and put them in the received status. So that's how an artist submits their application. Back on this checkout page, though, I just want to show real quick. This is the receipt they received. They also get a receipt in the email with a timestamp of exactly when they submitted their application. So essentially, the purchase of their jury fee is the date and time of the submitted application. So if that ever comes up, they can do that. They can also view your refund policy here. It takes them back to the page to the refund policy. And I just moved away from that. And I can't show you. Okay, hold on. I have to make a purchase. I will show you what I was going to show you on the receipt page in a different account because I want to show you what it looks like when an artist purchases a booth. So let me actually log out of this one. I'm going to log into a different account. This will be the kind of the final thing we touch on today. So we're going to talk about, the booth fee purchases. So if an artist is invited to the event, they will accept or reject their invitation. Then they will come here and they'll have the option to submit purchases. And then this takes them to the full cart of what is available. So as you saw in our event editor, product editor, you have all these lists of products that you can set up. You can keep adding them as needed. I recommend changing the order so that they're grouped by like products. So all the booths, all the little add-ons, all of those are together. And you can set certain quantities that you have available. Once an artist becomes invited to the event and they accept their invitation, they'll have the option to come in here and actually purchase those things. So they can come in here and add any of the products they want to purchase. And it just adds to their cart. And it's the same flow, same steps. Now they can update the quantities. If they need to purchase multiple booths or multiple things, they can come in here and do that. Same thing with coupons. If they have coupons, it'll be, one coupon per product. They can apply those as they go, and they'll submit their payments as well. I'm going to do a check payment for all of these as well. And I'm going to show you what I wanted to show you before. Is the receipt. So at the bottom of the receipt page, this is another opportunity for you to advertise to ZAPP artists. So this is our receipt ads that we have available. We have 3 slots, as you can see, 2 are filled at the moment, where you can set up a little ad that looks like what we're looking at here, 200 pixels by 200 pixels, so kind of small. But it does allow you to put your name right in front of artists as they purchase events or purchase applications or products to other events. This ad itself is clickable, so we'll add your event details page to the receipt itself. And so this is another touch point where you can get in front of the ZAPP artists. We have hundreds of artists making purchases every day, thousands every week. We can come in here. You can be in front of these artists that are interacting with ZAPP on a regular basis. And if you want the receipt ad, it's again on the marketing page under the Help Center. You can go to the request form and under which product you would like to purchase, just choose the receipt advertisement. Again, we'll reach out to you to confirm details. We'll have you submit your ad design, and then we'll put it up on the site for either 2 or 4 weeks. I do have a question in the chat right now about the sitemap. So the question is, we have noticed that artists cannot find the map at the bottom of the event page. Is there something ZAPP can communicate to artists to let them know the map is always at the bottom of the event page? That's a great point. I can definitely make note for our, artist newsletters that we share tips and tricks for communicating with artists. We are also planning a few artist engagement sessions in the next year so that we can communicate some of these more things with artists more clearly. So I will add that to our list. Thank you, Sarah and Megan. For now, I would just, if you're having any problem with it appearing on the page, definitely be sure to reach out to us and we can help troubleshoot that. The other thing you can do is at the top, towards the top of your event information, maybe in the event summary or the general info, you can say, to view the sitemap, scroll to the bottom of this page. And I have another question. Do I know the percentage of artists that have opted into those emails? Yes. Well, I don't have a percent number for you, but I do have information. So this Market with ZAPP page, we frequently update with current numbers. So Single Show eBlast, I should say this is not current. This is more like 50,000 plus artists are opted into receiving single show e-blasts. And we currently have about 90,000 artists on our site right now that with active accounts. So, 50 out of 90. And then for the show information feature, this is pretty accurate. 56,000 artists out of those 90,000 artists are opted in to receive the show information emails. Currently, we only ask artists to apply by 2D or 3D. Are we able to also ask for medium? We don't want a jury by medium, just jury by 2D or 3D. I would ask in that case, if you're just jurying by 2D and 3D, keep your categories as 2D and 3D. But the medium, you can ask for it in the questions itself, in the application questions. That would only mean that you can't organize by category, like if you are filtering by category or medium, for example. So you wouldn't be able to organize it in the jury by medium, but yeah, just by the categories themselves. You can keep it broad if you prefer to have it just 2D and 3D. If an artist starts an application during the early bird fee time period, but they don't check out until after the early bird period is passed, does the fee automatically reset to the full fee? Yeah, it would. So in the checkout page, which is something that they would have yet to encounter if they hadn't finished their application, it will update the products accordingly. So once the early bird product, you can see we used to have early bird, but now we've got the full amount. The jury fee would just update accordingly. We can test that out here and make sure, again, I have already entered a coupon, so it might mess things up. But yeah, now it's an early bird jury fee with $25. So it just updates based on the dates themselves. If we flag or make a notation on their file or application, do they see it? No, that's a great question to ask. So under the events management section, if you are coming in here and managing your section applications by adding a flag, maybe you create a tag, like maybe a juror is going to apply or something like that. You can create like a tag. All the tags and flags and comments, which is under here, add comment, those are all hidden from artists. Artists cannot see those things. Jurors can see the tags, I'm pretty sure, but they can't see anything else. And it's all hidden from artists. One thing I do want to note, speaking of, what artists do see on their applications, under their ZAPPlications page, this is what lists all the events that they've applied to. They will be able to see the status. And I do want to hone in here that once you're done with your jury process, do make sure that you make sure your jury status is set to complete. We've had some artists reach out saying that their status, they know because they've received an email that their status is invited, but when they come in here, their status still says jury in progress, and they can't move forward with accepting their invite or making a purchase for their booth. So just make sure that jury status in your jury administration page is all set to complete so that artists can move forward with the process. As you can see here, we do have tags and comments, but just know that these are internal for artists. So an artist can create a tag for their event or for their application. They can add their own comments for the application itself. Those aren't the same as the tags and comments that you create. I have another question. Is there a way to have jurors leave both public and private comments on applications? I'd like to give artists some feedback, but the jurors also want to be able to leave private notes to the head juror. So there's not a way. There's only one comment box on the jury section, on the jury scorecard. That is only visible to the juror that's making the comment, and it's visible to the administrator, you, and the jury administration page. So fellow jurors cannot see comments, and artists cannot see scoring comments. However, you can download the jury report. So you can download scores, which includes a column of the comments. And if you're going to do that in a bulk way so that the head juror can see the comments or the scores, then you can share that with them. You can share it with the fellow jurors, or you can share it with the artist. You can pull that from the report. But also, as kind of Randall's alluding to, you can use the communication tool to share the scores with artists as well. So it's probably, let me just show the communication section here. Whoops. Under the merge data, you have the ability to show the anonymous jury scores and comments. So I don't have really time to demonstrate exactly what this looks like, but it basically appears at the bottom of the email, and it kind of, things at the bottom, could be at the top. It just kind of blatantly shows jury score, comment. One thing you can do if you want to test this, well, if you want to see what it looks like when you send it out, you can send yourself a copy. You can just click send copy, and that will give you an idea of what it looks like. It also will show it when you preview it. This is kind of a bad example because I don't necessarily have a scored application in here to be able to show you what it looks like. But when you preview the email, it will kind of show you where they're going to merge certain pieces of data, and it's usually at the top there or at the very bottom. So yeah, referencing emails, I think, is what you're talking to about, Randall. They can reference that in the application page. I haven't sent any emails, so it's gonna be hard to show in this kind of small event here. But there's an email section that shows all the emails you've sent to an artist. And a question about communications to artists, if they didn't get it, it does show in their application page, like I'm showing here, the list of emails that you've sent them. You can always reference, this is the date and time that the email was sent. Be sure to look for the email, and there is a bounce report as well that Sarah's mentioning. You can go to reports, communication bounce report, run it for the time that you sent that email, and it will update with any bounces so you can troubleshoot those situations. But if you really are having problems with artists that are not receiving emails from the ZAPP system, be sure to reach out to our help team, because we do have a way to monitor the certain emails and whether or not they're getting delivered successfully to certain artists. Sometimes there's problems with emails, and there's a suppression list we can check to make sure that artists are not on the suppression list and therefore not receiving our emails. So reach out to help support if you have any specific questions or issues with the communication tool. This does wrap up our webinar about the artist side of ZAPP, and I hope you gained a clearer picture of what the artist sees on their end and can take some of that insight into how you set up your events. If you have any questions for us about what we talked about today or anything specific to your event, go ahead and email us. If you haven't heard our announcement, ZAPP's parent organization is now called Creative West, so no longer are we Western States Arts Federation. This means we have a new email domain. Our previous emails will still work, but in the chat now is our help email for administrators such as yourselves, and that is our email. It's zapphelp@wearecreativewest.org, and that is our new parent organization's name. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.